How you doing, guys? Big Mac School here today, back once again with another episode of my Conquest series for you. Today we're going to be taking a look through the pages of issue 72. Okay, issue 72 it is. So, we're back on track, back in order. I'm not missing any issues now. So, issue 72, we have Chaos Spawn in this issue. 2 Chaos Spawn models. Discover Genestealer cults and Stormhawk Interceptors. Let's talk about the Chaos Spawn first of all. So it's 2 models. How much do you think those models cost? 2 models, £25. I was quite surprised. I expected them to be about £15 on the GW website, but they're £25 for 2 models. You do get a lot of extras on the sprues, so theoretically you could make your own Chaos Spawn out of things like Poxwalkers using the extras off the Spawn sprue to kit bash. You could maybe use like some of the easy to build Plague Marines, or even get some green stuff, make balls and make your own little sort of mini great unclean one, which sounds ridiculous because mini and great is an oxymoron. I've gone off on a massive tangent there. Yeah, so £25 for the Chaos Spawn kit, therefore you're saving 18 quid. Nope, 17 quid-ish. 17 pounds and a penny. Over to the next page, the first page rather. It's the Chaos Spawn. On the first 2 pages it talks you through the Chaos Spawn and exactly what they are and how they come to be. There's a number of ways it can come to be. One is that a Chaos God is very generous with their gifts. Nurgle, for example, is very generous with his gifts. And when we say a gift of Nurgle, what we mean is like the infections, the pustules on the Plague Marines that you see and on the Poxwalkers, the tentacles and stuff like that. And the thing with Nurgle is as well, he sort of, when you worship Nurgle, your body gets numbed to all these infections and all the other things, and therefore you don't realise when you've reached the point of no return with these various gifts of Nurgle. And then you might just turn into a Chaos Spawn because you've got too many gifts of Nurgle, basically. There's also a price of failure way where you get turned into a Chaos Spawn as a result of failing a Chaos God. You say you pledge your service to the god and you fail him in some way, and then he's like, right, you turn into a spawn. He just snaps and snaps his fingers, and you've got like tentacles coming out your brain and stuff. Yeah, so a Chaos Spawn is a big fleshy unit, basically, like a big fleshy beast. You can see it in the pictures on the front cover, really. It's pretty self-explanatory, but you might have spines coming out of you, you might have claws, massive claws on your hands, you might just have tentacles, all sorts of deformities and abnormalities that you wouldn't see on a normal person. Anyway, on to the next page. It's Genestealer cults. Oh, Genestealer cults. Very interesting Genestealer cults, because they are effectively, for all intents and purposes, on the surface they look like they're part of the Imperium, but they're not. They are an insidious infestation, if you like, where Genestealers are part of the Tyranid race. They're sent out as like scouts, if you like. They're sent to various planets in a galaxy before the Tyranids invade that galaxy, or in a sector of the galaxy before the Tyranids invade that sector. And they might land on a planet and they impregnate a human with their genes, basically. So then a child is born of that human that looks a bit human, a bit Tyranid, and then it goes on one stage further, where the next child born of that child's genes, or when they've grown to be an adult, genes, they look even more human, and they can go out into society and operate as a human without too many questions being raised. The thing you've got to remember in the 41st millennium is there are mutations anyway, so mutations can be tolerated on various worlds, especially in the downtrodden of a society. So those at the bottom of the hive, basically, they are looked down upon and sort of ignored by the upper echelons of society, really. So things like a Genestealer cult infestation in that circumstance is quite a realistic possibility. As realistic as this massive 41st millennium Warhammer universe could be. Yeah, so it's quite a real possibility that you could just go completely undetected if you were part of the Genestealer cult, even though you've got like ridges on your forehead and stuff like that. And then eventually what happens is the Genestealer cult rises up against the local population and the planetary governors and those that control the planet. And that's when the Tyranid Hive Fleet comes to the planet to claim the biomass on the planet for itself. But once all the humans have been eaten and the uninfected have been eaten, or whatever race is on that particular planet, they then feed on all of the Genestealer cult as well. So they think, oh great, they're sort of hypnotised into worshipping this four-armed emperor, this god of the Tyranids basically. But to them it's a four-armed emperor and it's something to worship, something that they wonder at. But yes, they worship this, and then they aid the Tyranid forces in taking control of the planet and using the planet's resources, and then they themselves, they don't realise until the last minute, and then at the last minute they sort of realise, oh, they're going to eat me now, and that's when they realise what a mistake they've made, basically. Over the course of the next pages, I've had them up behind me though, there's a Genestealer cult showcase. Some lovely miniatures there. These are all miniatures that came out in the past 3 or 4 years, I'd say. With the Deathwatch Overkill boxed game, that was when we first saw the Genestealer cult miniatures. But now there's a whole range of them as well. The Space Marine Stormhawk Interceptor is on the next page. So last issue, or the issue before, I can't remember, we spoke about the Storm Talon. The Storm Talon is like an air-to-ground attack vehicle. So it can go into a hover mode and stuff like that, whereas the Stormhawk Interceptor is an air-to-air vehicle. It's very much kitted out to take on other skycraft and to hunt them down and ensure that the Space Marines have dominance of the skies. Let's go through the faction. Space Marines, armor rating 5, speed 10, firepower 5, classification interceptor. So yeah, like I said, it's an interceptor vehicle that's designed to dominate the skies. Crew, 1 Space Marine. Armaments, 2 heavy bolters, Skyhammer missile launcher, Typhoon missile launcher, Last Talon, Icarus storm cannon, 2 assault cannons. Engines, supersonic engines. Additional equipment, Infernum Halo launcher. The Infernum Halo launcher, I think, is like a chaff launcher, basically. So, I might be wrong here, but I think it's something that's just behind the cockpit that shoots out like a grenade sort of thing that explodes and then can disrupt the flight path of the vehicle behind and targeting systems and stuff like that. On to how to build Chaos Spawn. The how to build section is quite interesting in this one because it goes through, it displays all the parts for you that you're probably not going to use, although you might, like I said, if you're into converting miniatures and stuff like that. You've got plenty of extra bits here to try your hand at conversions. Think about it. Grab yourself, maybe, if you've not got any spare miniatures from the Conquest run, go down to your local Games Workshop or your independent hobby store. Grab yourself a box of the easy-to-build Poxwalkers or maybe Plague Marines, and take some of these extra bits you've got from the spawn and chop and change bits. Swap a head out, swap out an arm for a tentacle, things like that. Just play with it to your heart's content. Yeah, the easy to build stuff's not that expensive, so you can really have some fun messing with these kits like that. And then they build them in a certain way, one with a fly head and a load of sort of spiny legs coming out of its back and stuff, and a massive claw, and the other one's got 3 eyes, so the 3 lobe symbol, the trilobe symbol, is a symbol of the Death Guard and of Nurgle. So that's why they built them in that way, just to represent Death Guard and Nurgle. So fly heads are associated with Nurgle as well. On to how to paint Chaos Spawn. Interestingly, actually, before we move on to the how to paint section, I'll try and remember to whack this picture up behind me. There's a side image of one of these spawn, and there's a massive gap in the shoulder bit. So you might have to fill that with green stuff. We've not had any green stuff with the magazine. But if yours ends up like that, it might be worth just nipping out, grabbing some green stuff or some milliput or some clay. You could do it with blue tack if you don't have that, but I wouldn't recommend it because when it dries and stuff, it might go a bit funny. But yeah, you can fill it with anything really, a little bit of polyfiller or something. Just don't smear it all over it. And then you can spray it over the top of that, and it doesn't look like there's a massive gap between the arm and the shoulder there. How to paint Chaos Spawn. Like I said, it's a okay little painting guide. The end results are interesting. They're pretty bland, if I say so myself. But there's there's limited ways you can do Chaos Spawn really, because they're just big lumps of flesh. So they're all going to be one colour effectively, unless you want to go absolutely psychedelic and do ridiculous gradients from one colour transitioning into another, because at the end of the day, Spawn are like the utter madness of chaos itself made manifest. So you could do them like that if you wanted to. On to the rules, mission 55, Grandfather's Gifts. So this mission is all about the gifts of Nurgle, and how Governor Ludmilla Tark and her main general, General Redgar, are taking part in a ritual to get some blessings of Nurgle, some gifts of Nurgle. But it all goes wrong and they turn into, guess what? 2 Chaos Spawn. Fancy that, eh? Considering we've just got the Chaos Spawn in this magazine, what are the chances? Unbelievable. So the mission is called Hunt the Spawn. And you roll off, starting with the winner, take turns placing mats in the layout shown above, 3 mats side by side. Then place the 3 hatches in the location shown. So over the course of the magazine we've had 3 hatches so far. 2 of the square ones and 1 of the circle ones. The circle one came with the galvanic magma vent, I think it was, or the what's the chimney stacks called? I can't remember what they're called exactly. But yeah, one of them came with that, and the other 2 came with the Rising Pattern Ruins, the 2 square ones. So you place them as shown on the battlefield, and then when the hatches have been placed, set up the rest of your terrain in an agreed manner. You can use tutorial 21 if you need help doing so. The armies, one player selects a Battleforged army of Death Guard miniatures, the other player selects a Battleforged army of Space Marine miniatures. So don't forget, in the past few issues we've been talked through or guided through how to set up a battalion detachment and a patrol detachment, so you can pick and choose which of those detachments you want to use, which do you think is going to be most to your advantage. Well, if you want 6 command points, I'd suggest you go with a battalion detachment. The Death Guard player must include the following units in their army roster: 2 Chaos Spawn, 10 Chaos Cultists. The Spawn themselves are 2 power level each, so that takes up 2 power level, 4 power level for the Chaos Spawn. I'm not sure how much Cultists are, I imagine the 1 to 3 power level. So that's going to take up a little chunk of your force, but you've still got plenty of power level to play with. The deployment, Death Guard player deploys the Chaos Spawn and the Chaos Cultists in the ritual site, which is this red circle of 6 inches marked out on the left hand side of the board. The Space Marine player deploys all their units in the Space Marine deployment zone. The remaining Death Guard units move onto the battle mat at the beginning of their movement phase. Infantry units may move onto the board from the hatches instead of the edge, so you can bring them on between the Chaos Spawn and Cultists and the Space Marines themselves, creating a kind of shield there if you wanted to. The Space Marine player takes the first turn. Eliminate victory conditions. Eliminating an enemy unit, 1 victory point. Eliminating a Warlord, 1 victory point. If both Chaos Spawn are eliminated, the Space Marine player gains 3 victory points. The Death Guard player gains 1 victory point for each model slain by the Chaos Spawn. Oh, the Chaos Spawn are quite handy as well. I'll run through the stats in a second. The game lasts for 5 battle rounds. So onto the Chaos Spawn profile. We've got 7-inch movement, so that's very good, very exciting stuff. Weapon skill of 4+, so not amazing, but you've got a 50-50 chance of scoring a hit. Strength and toughness 5, wounds 4, attacks D6. Leadership of 9 and a save of 5+. They are also fearsome, so enemy units within 1 inch of a Chaos Spawn, that's any they're in combat with really, must subtract 1 from the leadership, and then they are mutated beyond reason, which is a special ability. If you roll a d3, which is a d6 divided by 2, so a 1 or a 2 becomes a 1, 3 or a 4 becomes a 2, and a 5 or a 6 becomes a 3. So on a result of 1, Razor Claws is the name of this mutation. The hideous mutations of all Chaos Spawn in the unit have an AP of -4 till the end of the fight phase. Now they have a standard AP of -2, but Space Marines still get a save against that. They get a 5-up save. the claws do, the hideous mutations do 2 damage normally as well. So they're going to take out Primaris Space Marine just by just with 1 attack if they manage to get through the armour. There's also a result of 2 grasping pseudopods. Each chaos spawn in the unit adds 2 attacks to its characteristic until the end of the fight phase. Now with D6 attacks as standard, that's a potential 8 attacks per model. And toxic hemorrhage, you can reroll failed wound rolls for the unit until the end of the fight phase. They're strength 5 anyway, and Primaris Space Marines are only toughness 4, so you're going to be wounding on 3s in combat. So re-rolling wounds means you're only going to fail to wound if you roll 2 twice, or you roll 2, you don't get to re-roll. No, you re-roll the wounds. It's not you re-roll ones. It's re-roll failed wounds. So you roll a 1 or a 2, you just roll again, and then chances are you're going to get that wound. Anyway, on to next week's issue. We are getting technical paints, Nylock Oxide and Nurgle's Rot next week. Nurgle's Rot's a great paint. I love that one. And you can add detail to your Death Guard models with those paints, which is going to be exciting. What are we getting in issue 74? Well, we are getting the Death Guard Tallyman. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He likes counting, the Tallyman. That's what he's doing. He's got a big bit of paper here, a bit of papyrus or something, and he's scribbling on it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 plagues have been released. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. 10 plagues have been released. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15. 15 plagues have been released. Stuff like that. That's the sort of stuff he likes to get up to. That's an exciting miniature that I've not got yet. So, oh, there is actually numbers above his thing as well. I'm just counting away thinking I'm dead funny here, but there's actually numbers above him. So they've thought the same thing as me. Anyway, it's going to be good to see what comes in next week's issue as well as the paints. I'll leave it there for now, guys. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.